Before we get started, if you're enjoying this content, you can do us a favor by subscribing to our YouTube channel and ringing the bell. That'll let the algorithm know that you like this content and it will help us produce more.
You can only do a job for the money for a defined period of time. After that, you've really got to do something that you're personally passionate about, that you really care about.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and today I'm welcoming to the show not one, but two founders. I love it when this happens. So today, I'm welcoming to the show the co-founders of No Thank You, the brand leading the charge in honesty and transparency in CBD skincare. Graham and Zain, welcome to the show.
Hey Chase, how's it going?
It's going fantastic.
Hi Chase, thanks for having us.
Alrighty, so quickly, let's just talk about the product itself. Just give it a quick kind of background so people really understand what kind of products that you guys are bringing to market here.
I can start, and then Zain, if I screw anything up, you can fill in. The way I always talk about NTY is we are providers of ridiculously high quality CBD skincare products. And I say that because not all CBD skincare, and certainly not all CBD, is created equally. We're huge believers in the efficacy of CBD in skincare, and we'll talk about that when we talk a bit more about our products in the business. But we have spent the last 2 years really nailing our formulations to be the absolute most effective they possibly can be. They're incredibly potent anti-inflammatories, which have got a really great home in a skincare product. And we think we've got a really unique product in the skincare space. We're super, super excited about it.
Absolutely. Zain, anything to add?
No, I think Graham and I share a brain. He covered most of it. I think we've started, we're focused on the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties of CBD that we'll talk about in more detail. But, our focus was to create the best of the products that we could. And hopefully that's what our audience and customer sees from us.
Absolutely. All right. So take me back in time. So where did this idea come from? What was going on?
I'll take that one, Graham, if you want to add to it then. No Thank You actually started as a passion project. Both Graham and I left finance back in 2017, and Graham was in London at that time. I was already in LA. We're both native Californians. And, as native Californians, we've always had some inclination towards THC and CBD, always been curious, always considered it a product, an ingredient that is super effective. And how No Thank You came about is we both left finance and we started dabbling in CBD, I would say. We've always been fans of it. And, I had some experience working in product development in a consumer product company after I left finance. And also I was helping my dad in the CBD and THC business on the family side. And there was something to look here. And I think the ingredient is super efficacious, as we said, but there was something more here that we wanted to explore. And Graham and I kind of put on our hats and said, let's just try it. Let's see what we could come up with. And it started unraveling. We started going on this journey where, we knew that CBD was an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, but how did it interact in a skincare product? What did it do? What are some properties we could bring out together? It's a great active to have in a skincare I would say, sorry, I'm going to take this back a little. Just going back so I'd say when we started creating this idea of No Thank You, we started creating the best of products that we could. We didn't think about the cost, or we weren't thinking about running a business. We were thinking about creating the best CBD products we could and put it out there. And during that journey, we found out that, there's actually a precursor to CBD called CBDA, which is an even more potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. How do we use that in a skincare product, and how do we take a deeper dive into it? And we started learning all these things about it. Like there is CBD, full spectrum, broad spectrum, isolate, which is the best one. We are really research driven individuals. And if we were going to put anything out there and put our names behind it and our story behind it, we wanted to be 100% certain that these were the best products that we could create. And it filled a void in the market that wasn't there. People were putting out products or just sprinkling CBD on products and not really diving into the efficacy or functionality of the ingredient, but using it more for a trend basis. And that felt really unfair. And if you really dive into mine and Graham's personal stories, we've both been at a place where things didn't seem fair. And it kind of started connecting the product, the business to our story and what the brand stood for, what No Thank You stood for. And everything started coming together one by one and started falling in line. It's not something we started with and said, oh, here's an Excel sheet and here, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're going to do next. Yes, we had a business plan eventually that we, developed over time, but a lot of it did come together because we were just curious about the ingredient. We wanted to do right by the ingredient and create products that weren't out there and do justice to it, pretty much is where our headspace was when we started.
Yeah, I mean, I think when one thing to mention is when we first started this whole endeavor, we started talking about this, I want to say late 2017, early 2018, and we didn't really do anything for a little while. It was ideas like soup at that point. But this was in the time when, particularly in California, and we both are in greater LA, you'd walk down the street and you'd see dispensaries, you'd see all these just CBD shops selling all kinds of CBD, whether it's skincare, ingestible, or otherwise. And it was almost too much to handle. And we kind of said, okay, there's obviously something here, but we want to do our research and figure out what really makes CBD a great ingredient. What was its potential use in skincare? And also, how do you tell the good stuff from the crap? And that's a huge, huge problem in this industry is there's so many different types of CBD out there. They're not all effective. And everything right now, even still today in 2022, is kind of mislabeled. And there's a big consumer education piece that I think we have to go through before people really, really understand what it is they're getting. But certainly from the outset, our mission was we want to use the best of the absolute best, really try to educate people on how to look out for both what's in our products and also everything else, and really just put together the best possible product we could. And that's been our journey for I'm going to call it the first part of the company, really focusing on the products and the ingredients. And that's something I feel like we both feel pretty good about.
Absolutely. So how long would you say it was that journey from ideating on maybe this is something we should get into and maybe make a product here to you have a product in your hand? Maybe you're not selling it yet, but you've got a demo or however you'd refer to it.
Okay. I would say that was at least a year, if not more. And it was a year from idea stage to first draft of a product when we're first testing out a few different versions of the product that we ultimately might want to create. So the very first step we went through was, okay, let's do our market research and figure out how we fit in, figure out what kind of product we want to put together. Then, okay, we know we're a skincare company. How many SKUs do we want? What's the mix of facial SKUs and body SKUs we want? And then ultimately it was interviewing formulators, finding people who had experience both in CBD and in skincare, which is actually pretty difficult to find. Most people are one or the other. You find a bunch of, I'm going to call them kind of potheads who are really way into CBD, other cannabinoids, terpenes, but they've got no clue about skincare. And there are a few that really know both. And we were fortunate enough to have found one that did and was able to marry both the skincare knowledge with the CBD knowledge. So we got our first draft of products, probably a year after that first idea stage. And then I would say we spent at least another 6 months really tinkering with the formulas to get what we wanted.
And we also sent it out to about 100 people to test the products and give us feedback. That took another 4 or 5 months and made some changes from there. So I think we're very focused on making sure that it's not just Graham and I and the product developer in the lab creating products that we like, but we want to test it out in the market and make sure we get the consumer feedback before we kind of finally let it out loose in the market and really really send the product out, which kind of shows in the reviews and all the feedback we've collected over the years, because we're really proud of what we've created. And I think, that's a testament to all the hard work we put in and all the research we've done, but also everyone else that's come on the journey with us and tested the products, not knowing what's in the jar to being like, oh, this really works. So that's been fun.
Yeah, I think there's always a tendency for entrepreneurs or just people, tinkerers, creators, whatever, is they work on it too much, and you really don't know, like, because if you're doing the same thing over and over, you start to believe in it, which is almost just like bias because you're just so attached to it. You got to get out there, you got to show people and get real feedback. And so I think that that's a fantastic takeaway from your story that everyone should really know, is just like, stop working on it and go get feedback right now.
Yeah. And I think that's not just in the product side. It's like every aspect of the business. When you're developing the website or when you're creating your brand, go out and test it out, because you can work on it for years and years and people might not react the way you think. So I think testing, A/B testing, or however you test your products or branding or ads, like just do it little by little and get the feedback. And it doesn't mean like if one person tells you to change something, you should just rip everything apart and change it. You have your conviction about things. You have your gut feelings about things. You want to stick to it, but take that feedback into consideration as you evolve, because it's all about evolving constantly and changing and pivoting as a small business.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to use the word noodling because I'm hungry. So you were noodling for a year on kind of this idea, and you're coming up with the concept, skincare, CBD, and then you've got a product in hand that you're testing. And then is it about another year of iterations upon that product before you're about to go to market? Yeah,
it's another year of both product iteration and also branding iteration. We had a couple of early ideas around how we wanted to brand this and market it. Completely turned away from some of those when we did a bit more work and figured out how we really wanted to pitch this to the consumer. It took us a hot second to come up with the name No Thank You. I mean, actually, that was a group effort, both the two of us and also our head graphic designer and branding agency. It kind of came in the middle of the night, and we all said, okay, does this actually make sense? Like, do we want to take this chance and name ourselves No Thank You? And we took a couple weeks to think about it, because it is a little bit out there. And by the way, I mean, we should explain what we're saying No Thank You to, which first and foremost is all the BS in the skincare space, whether it's the lack of transparency, the false promises, the unhealthy stereotypes. We're here to cut through the crap and say no to all that. So that's really the genesis of the name. But it does take some people back, and they're like, this is quirky, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. But I think what we came back to is, whether you like it or you don't, it's pretty memorable. It sticks out. And I think that's probably the best thing we can hope for as a new brand.
If you're struggling with scaling your sales, maybe Electric Eye can help. Our team has helped our clients generate millions of dollars in additional revenue through our unique brand scaling framework. You can learn more about our agency at electriceye.io. That's electriceye.io. Mesa is the easy-to-use answer for automating the everyday challenges of running a Shopify store. Find more aha moments when you're spending less time in the weeds and can focus on the bigger picture. With automations, you have all the power of code without the learning curve. You can easily customize how Shopify and your apps work with one-click integrations. From auto-tagging orders to sending order details to a Shopify customer database, Mesa connects your data where it's needed most. To put it quite simply, Mesa is a better way to work. So find your peace of mind and kick up your feet with a simplified workload to manage the everyday stress of running your Shopify store. Search for Mesa, that's M-E-S-A, in the Shopify App Store and download the app today. Free plan available with a no-cost setup included. Our partner Rewind can protect your e-commerce store by automatically backing up your business-critical data. Rewind should be the first app you install to protect your store against human error, misbehaving apps, or collaborators gone bad. It's like having your very own magic undo button. Trusted by over 100,000 businesses, from side hustles to the biggest online retailers like Knix, Paul Mitchell, and Pampers. Best of all, visit rewind.com/honestecommerce to get your first month absolutely free. That's rewind.com/honestecommerce. Getting an online business off the ground isn't easy. So if you find yourself working late, Tackling a to-do list that's a mile long with your 5th cup of coffee by your side? Remember, great email doesn't have to be complicated. That's what Klaviyo is for. It's the email and SMS platform built to help e-commerce brands earn more money by creating genuine customer relationships. Once you set up your free Klaviyo account, you can start sending beautiful, branded messages in minutes thanks to drag-and-drop design templates and built-in guidance. And with e-commerce specific recommendations and insights, you can keep growing your business as you go. Get started with a free account at klaviyo.com/honest. That's KLAVIYO.com/HONEST. That's amazing. I feel like we're kindred spirits here because the podcast's name comes from us cutting through the bullshit of, liars out here, get rich quick, drop ship, now you got Ferrari type stuff. It's like, no, I'm asking you guys the real stuff and you're laying it on, and I've got some tough questions to follow things up with.
All right. Well, let's do it.
CBD and the way that it's regulated federally is a pain in the butt, especially with financing. So talk about some of the downsides to launching a CBD brand, especially when it comes around with payment providers.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of downsides to getting in this business. The good news, by the way, is it's all getting a little bit better every day, every week, every month. But it still has got a lot of challenges. So as you mentioned, finance is a big one, but is getting easier to deal with. So the biggest problem we had was getting a credit card processor that would accept our payments. The biggest one out there that everybody seems to use in the world, Stripe, just says, I'm not doing CBD. I mean, we find this a lot, both in payments and also in advertising. Even though CBD is totally federally legal, it's just not a big enough category for the really big guys to care about it. And it's too easy for them to say, I'm just not even going to touch it.
Yeah, it's too close to THC in their mind.
Right? Yeah, exactly. There's still a lot of, and by the way, this is
any vice product. So we're talking sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They all get hit with it.
Right?
Yeah. Vice products.
I mean, the number of ads we've had rejected on Facebook for unsafe substances when we're showing a picture of like a lip balm is like too high to count. Like, we're finally figuring a way around it, but it's taken some time. So I would say finance is a big one, but I do think that's getting easier. Both from a payment side and also an investment from the investment side of things. There are a lot more cannabis focused, like VC funds. So there's capital out there that understands this space a little bit, and it's getting a little bit easier. I kind of touched on marketing. That has been a challenge. Facebook is open-ish to CBD, but you've got to do the advertising in a very, very specific way. We're fortunate enough that we just started working with the nation's largest CBD advertising firm on Facebook. So now we can finally get our ads approved, and we actually have a better idea of what we need to put in terms of content to get them out there. But Google is still a no-go. And there are a lot of tricks that you have to play, and a lot of hoops you have to jump through to try to get your ads approved. So whether that is using ads that are just focused on education and really not trying to sell anything at all, whether that's creating an entirely like a carbon copy version of your website that just talks about hemp instead of CBD. There are all these little like tricks that you kind of learn after you've been through this business for a little while. And you can make it work, but it's at least double the amount of work for any other e-com business, I feel like, just because there's so much stuff to think about.
I would also add that, there was already a first iteration of CBD 1.0 products that, as Graham mentioned, there are a lot of potheads who thought they could get into consumer product business. They created some product. Maybe they weren't backed up by science. They weren't backed up by research. They were just sprinkling CBD. There's so much misinformation and hocus pocus going around on consumers in this space that there's been a little bit of mistrust, a little bit of loss. People that weren't really business focused or business operators that came into this space and kind of just ruined it. But I think right now we're getting through that mess as well and getting people to trust the ingredient again, educating them about it, getting them, getting people who have invested come back and invest and really do the diligence rather than just throwing money around. So you're seeing this second round and second iteration in the finance space, both from a consumer standpoint, from a financing partner standpoint. And I think all of us are just learning and doing even the extra work to make sure what they're putting money behind works. And I think the products or the brands that do have quality products that do work will prevail this go around. But there are still some that think this is an easy money, just, come out with the product, make it big and come out, and sell it or whatever they're thinking. I think that's in any industry, but it seems to be way more prevalent here.
I've got horror stories of conversations. No, they're not horror stories. It's just like I get on the phone and I can quickly identify what people are trying to do. And I'm just like, is this like cash grab?
Yeah.
If so, here's some free advice, but I'm not interested in that play.
Yeah.
Right. And I will say CBD is one of them where I get on the phone and within the first 10 minutes I go, hey, you know that like, this is going to be twice the work, whatever we do, because of your industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not me trying to fleece you. That's the chosen industry, and that's the realities of your business.
Yeah.
And, if I'm the first person that tells people that, they just, they're not receptive of it because they don't understand the challenges that you guys are laying out here.
It is extremely difficult. And I think the first iteration has made it hard, but I think just showing up on a day-to-day business, we truly do believe in what we're selling and our brand, what we stand for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's why we show up every day. And we've been doing this and pushing, it's pushing that boulder uphill. That's what we're doing. And when you see folks like who are just sprinkling CBD or putting whatever else they're in their product to sell it as a CBD, it's extremely frustrating. So I'm glad you're out there policing these people and putting them in their space.
I'm trying to. All right, we jumped around a lot here. Let's get back to I'm trying to paint a story arc here. So you guys have this product and you're happy with it. Let's skip ahead a little bit here. How did you get your first customers? What was that like? How were you out there marketing this thing?
So the way we first started was testing everything with, we started with our friends and family, pushed out to extended friends and family. And the very, very first customers in the business, we really got through organic word of mouth. I think because advertising in this space, or because paid advertising rather, is so tricky, everything early on really has to be organic. So we did that both through our own networks, but as anyone knows, you run out of that pretty quickly. So you can't rely on your friends and family to make a business out of. So you got to figure out what's next. So for us, it was all about, at this point, we can do almost whatever we want in terms of organic social media, so unpaid. We can talk about CBD, we can talk about its benefits, we can talk about our brand, our products, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of our early efforts were really focused on social media and influencer recruitment. Influencers, I've got such mixed emotions about overall. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are harder to work with. Sometimes they're just really hard to find. You've got to find the right ones who have got a really engaged audience. Fortunately, early on, we identified a couple that kind of came through our extended network again. And we had really good luck with them pushing some of our products out. We set up affiliate programs with all of them, and then we started to grow that program over time. Then the next step for us was really layering in the paid advertising side of things as soon as we figured out how can we actually execute this paid ad strategy in this really like weird world where not everything gets approved. So we're finally figuring that out, and it's really great to be in that position. But it's a lot of work. And to your point before, like anyone who's thinking about getting into this space, I cannot tell you enough that you've got to do it with your eyes wide open and know exactly what the challenges are going to be, because there are a few for sure.
Defining your target audience and using that as your Northstar, which took us some time to develop. And even though you might be right or wrong, but having a direction you're going in and speaking to that audience and, gravitating towards them and by getting them on board as your fans are going to help you. Either you're going to find out that is your target audience or that's not, you've missed it by a lot, but you're speaking to someone and making them a community. I think that's very important as you start gaining customers. And then I think because we were in COVID, we didn't have that much of an opportunity to do that at that time, but we're doing more of like showing up to events, showing up to local events, local small business events, supporting other small businesses, figuring out how you can partner with them and layering that on top of our marketing strategy to help us grow.
Absolutely. No, that's all fantastic advice. Something that I've heard on previous episodes from people in similar spaces was emails playing a big component in their marketing strategy as well. Are you guys seeing the same results?
We are. I mean, it's tougher for us it has been tougher for us to grow our email list because we've had to do it all organically. Again, now that we can finally play in the paid space, we're doing a lot more paid email collection efforts as well.
Yeah.
But certainly what we found is as soon as you get a customer through the door, then marketing to them through email is so much easier than anything you can do on the paid social side, because one, you're free to do whatever you want as long as you don't piss them off. So, finding that right cadence of enough emails, but not too many is kind of a tricky thing to do sometimes. We also want to make sure we've got the right balance of both sales emails, but also educational and informational emails. So we're now at the point where we're putting out at least a blog post, if not more, every week. We send an email announcement about that. So people get a nice mix of, what we think is some really interesting educational content about not just CBD skincare, but how CBD works, how it interplays with other active ingredients that not that many people talk about, because there are so many people just putting CBD in products for CBD's sake. And we're really here to say no thanks to all that.
Now, is there anything about the journey that I forgot to ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
Well, the thing I would say to that is both Zain and I worked together in finance for a long time. That's actually how we met. We both became best friends when we were both living in London together. Like, my background is I grew up in LA, started working for, if I don't know what the average age of the audience is here, but if people remember Lehman Brothers, that bank that famously went bust, that was my first job out of college. And then Zain and I spent a decade working together at an LA-based investment firm. And that was such a powerful experience for me in the sense that I learned so much about how to get stuff done, what makes a business tick. It was a great, great training ground, but it also started to eat away at my soul a little bit. And I think the best advice I would give to somebody is you can only do a job for the money for a defined period of time. After that, you've really got to do something that you're personally passionate about, that you really care about, and also doing it with people you like. Like, one of the best things I get to do is show up with Zain every day. And even though we're not in a physical office, we're talking together every day. We're friends, we're colleagues. Because we've worked together such a long time, we share a brain and we're almost always on the same page. And it's just a lot of fun. It's way more fun than we did before.
I would just add, it's important who you pick you go on this journey with, because it's all consuming. It's like having a family and the business becomes your baby. Just make sure whoever you pick on this journey, you have fun with them. You can do conflict resolution. You can be honest. And it's really hard, but also balancing and making sure your friendship is intact at the end of all of this. And, Graham and I have both personally been through, everyone else in this world has been through tough times the last 2 years during COVID. And I think having a partner that I could trust has helped me sleep at night. So I'm not totally crazy and anxious all the time, which I was when I was in finance. So I think it's very important to have a peace of mind and pick the right partner during that process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the working with the right people. And it's honestly, I was lucky to find a good business partner as myself, but I think some of the greatest advice I got when we were first starting out is plan for the divorce before it even gets started. It's honestly, it's like you're getting married to somebody.
Yep.
Pretty much.
All right. So we talked all about these amazing products. You guys clearly have passion for it and just so much knowledge about it. For those that are curious to check out the products themselves, where should they go?
Well, first of all, I would recommend people go to our website at nty.co. Also, check out our social. Instagram is the main one right now, also at nty.co. There we have not just information on the products, but I'd also encourage people to spend some time on our science section, where we go into all of the detail on, one, why CBD is a great skincare ingredient, and two, the different types of CBD, why we use what we use in particular, and also what to look out for as a consumer. Because whether you're buying our products or someone else's, we want to help arm our customers with the information they need to make an informed decision. This is still a space with so much misinformation, so much mislabeling. By the way, just because something on the cover or on the jar says full spectrum CBD, it does not mean that's what's inside. As a customer today, everyone's making your job as a customer really tough, because you've got to literally download the lab report and read it. Otherwise, you have no idea. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give people the information they need to make an informed decision.
Absolutely. Zain, Graham, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Chase, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own business. You can find all the links in the show notes. Make sure you head over to honestecommerce.co to check out all of the other amazing content that we have. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and obviously, if you're thinking about growing your business, check out our agency at electriceye.io. Until next time.